Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Welcome to Developing Your Marketing Plan for 2017. I'm Ellen, and I'm a member of the AVN team here, so thank you very much for logging on. Let's get started. So first of all, just a few housekeeping things. We don't have a register, so please can you type your full name into the chat box, it's just so that I know who to send the follow-up emails to, if you could. And if you could let me know as well, can you hear and see me? Is everything working as it should? Can you see the slides? Can you see my video and so on? Brilliant. Thanks, Mohammed. Thanks, Albina. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Dee. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Marie. Wonderful. That's great. I'm always worried about technology. Okay. So this session, it is designed to be interactive. I'm going to share my thoughts with you for around about 50 minutes or so on the subject of developing your marketing plan and so on. And then we're going to open it up at the end, if that's okay. So that so that I can just get through what I need to say, and then we can answer any questions that you might have at the end of the session, if that's okay with everybody else. So I have muted everybody for the moment, just so that we don't have any phone calls in the background or rustling to disturb from what's going on. I am recording this session, so if you are wanting to review it, later on, I'll include the link to the follow-up email, in the follow-up email to the recording. So, as I say, if you could just include your full name in the chat box, so that I can review it afterwards and make sure that you get the recording. So there is a lot to cover, so we'd better get started. So what we're going to cover very briefly today, we're going to look at the importance of having a clear marketing strategy. We're going to look about how you'd go about creating an effective marketing plan and how that can help you to deliver a consistent marketing message. We're going to have a look at some ideas for how social media and online marketing can begin to help you to build your brand and give you credibility in the marketplace. And we're also going to explore some trends to look out for in 2017 that will give you some food for thought and help you to stay ahead of the game. But before we get started, I just want to say that this session is not designed to give a one-size-fits-all marketing plan that you can take away. For one, we don't have enough time to go, anywhere near into that detail. But as you know, the needs of every business differs greatly. So a marketing plan should take this into account. So we will look at the simple steps and the ideas that you can explore to create your own marketing plan and that's tailored to your own business needs. So we'll give you some pointers and things to consider. And it is also worth mentioning that I'll be pointing you towards various resources in System Builder, but please bear in mind that some of these may not be available to all membership levels. So just to bear that in mind. Okay, so as we all know, if any business is going to grow, it needs to generate new customers regularly. So to do this, you need to let people know that you exist. So you need to get that marketing message out in front of the people who would benefit from your services. And to do this effectively, you really can't leave it to chance or hope that a scattergun approach will magically generate leads from the right kind of people. So you need to have a strategy, obviously, and you need to be able to effectively articulate that strategy through your marketing plan. So very quickly on the screen here, let's have a look about how you might go about defining your strategy. And I'm hopeful that all of you will have an idea of how important the things I'm going to talk to you about are. I'm sure that you'll all have thought about some of the things that I'm going to cover in relation to your own businesses and perhaps even help to your own clients in going through this kind of a process. And if that's the case, great, but please bear with me. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to cover that will be useful. And, if you have followed the steps that I'm now going to outline, maybe, you might want to review what you've done in the past to see if they're still relevant. Maybe you can apply the basics of, developing a marketing strategy to use with your own clients. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking today will give you some good pointers to use moving forward. So the basics really, there is a brilliant system in systembuilder.net called Why Accountants Must Have a Clear Marketing Strategy. It's a good place to start, and you can find it by searching marketing strategy in the knowledge base. It is also included in the marketing toolkit, which can be found in the System Builder knowledge base. So I'm going to cover the key points that are covered in the system briefly now, but if you do want to go into more detail, that system will help you. There's useful videos and templates and things for you to consider. But firstly, before you do anything, it's important to identify your ideal client profile. And I've mentioned this before in other training sessions, and it is very quickly worth mentioning again because it is vitally important. In order to focus your marketing strategy on getting the right kinds of people, it follows that you should clarify first who those people are. So, before you launch into any complicated marketing campaign, it is just a useful exercise to think about the types of people you want to attract. So then you can begin to tailor your marketing strategy to focus on getting in front of those people. So as you can see on the screen, in Sister Builder, there's a document that helps you to identify your ideal client. This is called the Ideal Customer Profile. It gives you pointers to think about to help you get started into really drilling down into who your ideal clients are. You may have more than one ideal client type depending on the services that you offer maybe, but the important thing is that you take the time to define those ideal client profiles because that will impact on every other part of your marketing endeavours, and it's really a good place to start. And I've just had something come through on the chat box. Mohammed, is this System Builder tool available to Price and Associate members? I'm not actually... I don't think it is, Mohammed, but basically, the system that I just spoke about, it's, we're going to be covering the key points from that in this session. So at least make some notes, and we can always give you some pointers if you need any extra help. Okay, so now that we've got the ideal client in mind, that's when you can start through the process of creating your marketing plan. So I will be referring to the marketing plan template. That we do have a version of it included in the system that I mentioned earlier, the marketing strategy system. It can also be found in the marketing toolkit by searching marketing plan in the knowledge base. So it's a good document to give you an idea of the process that you should be going through. So why do you need a marketing plan? Well, your marketing strategy, it identifies what you want, and the marketing plan gives you the roadmap to get you to where you want to be. So when you create a marketing plan, it's not enough, though, to define who you want to target and where you want to market your services. You need to take a really good look at your business, its strengths, its weaknesses, and the ramifications of its current standing in the marketplace. There's a lot to cover when creating a marketing plan, but it really is a worthwhile activity in my book. And it really forces you to look at your business objectively, to pick it apart, compare it with your competitors, and then put it all back together again. So, whilst you're doing this, you may also wish to use the planning process as an opportunity to carry out additional market research into your customers' needs, how you're perceived in the marketplace, for instance, and how you could improve your product and your service. So most marketing plans, they traditionally begin by giving an introduction by way of an overview of your overall business strategy. It shouldn't be long or complicated, but it should include key factors such as, what your business is about, what are your key objectives, and the broad strategy for achieving those objectives. So where do you want to be in 5 years' time? How much money do you want to be earning? Are you exit planning? That kind of thing. It should briefly cover also the essence of your business, so who you're in business for, why you do what you do, and how you deliver what you do as well. And and it should give an overview of any major factors that might affect the business plan. Maybe there are certain sectors that you want to avoid that need to be taken into account. As I say, it is very important that you take the time to explain, however briefly, your main business objectives, because it's important to keep these in mind when you're forming a marketing strategy, so that you can make sure that your marketing plan doesn't clash or contradict with your overall business goals. The two should really complement each other, and you should have a coherent correlation between the two. The executive summary, it's often included at the start of the marketing plan. And really, it's one of the things that it's one of the first things that is included in the actual chronology of it all, but it's probably the last thing that you will write. So it should provide an overview of the main points of the marketing plan. So it should contain enough information for a reader, to get familiarised with what's discussed in the full plan, in the full report, without having to read it in full. So it should convey your purpose, the main marketing message, and any key recommendations that you've made from the planning process. And let's face it, if you're sharing it with your team to give them an idea of your marketing strategy, it's likely that they won't have the time to read such a hefty document in full. So the executive summary, it should at least allow them to get a good grasp of the basics so that everyone's on the same page. And lastly on there, the mission statement. And, I know that this has kind of fallen out of favour and being a bit twee in the past, but I think it is quite important to include this. It should be a practical, very clear concept of the business that you're trying to build. It's important to define this so that everyone who reads this document understands why your business does what it does, what direction you'd like your business to go in the future, and, just your overall why. So if you do want help on how to write an effective mission statement, have a look in System Builder. There is a document in there called How to Create the Perfect Mission Statement. So it does what it says on the tin. It gives you some pointers on how to make it as effective as it can possibly be. So you've decided who you want to target through looking at your ideal client profile, and you've clearly defined your overall business goals. So what next? Well, now is the time to really look at your current marketing position, and it's very important to ascertain what you're currently doing to market your practice. So then you can take a step back to see what's missing, what isn't working, what's effective, and what can be used to better advantage. And it's suggested that you use the following subheadings that are on the screen at the moment to cover all of these different areas, and these are often referred to as the marketing mix or the 4 Ps of marketing. So first of all, you've got your product. So think about what service are you selling? What's your market position? What are your competitors? What do they offer, and how does that compare with what you currently offer? Think about place. So, where are you currently selling your services? How does this compare to competition? And, things like that. So think about the marketing channels that you're currently using and so on. Think about price. So what pricing policy do you have? Do you discount? How does this compare to competition? What differentiates you? What makes you special? Obviously, you should all have times up and the value pricing side of things nailed. So that's definitely one thing to add to the mix. And then you've got promotion. So what types of activity are you currently carrying out? So look at your existing marketing literature, your brochures, your website, any emails that you might send out. Do you already have a social media presence, LinkedIn profile or a company page, YouTube account, or, do you have something like that to promote what you do? So whatever it is that you're currently doing to promote your practice, who you are and what you do, you need to write all of this down so that you've got it there in front of you to analyse and to review. And for service industries as well, there are 3 extra elements in addition to what we've just spoken about that need to be taken into account in the marketing mix. So who gives the service, so the people, how the service is given, so the process behind the delivery of it all, and the environment in which the service is given, so the physical evidence. What I think perhaps in this case a more accurate description for physical evidence would be customer experience. So, in terms of people, services are provided by people for people. And if the people that are providing that service are inefficient, or if they're rude, or if they're unkempt, no matter how great the end product, your customer's experience can still be spoiled by that. So while good customer care is important to all sectors, I think it is arguably more important when selling in the service industry. So, whilst you're going through this process, things to consider are, how you select new team members and training. Are you recruiting the right people in the first place? Are you giving them the right tools to do the job properly? Internal marketing. So are you actively promoting a culture of service within the firm? Are you giving people good service awards, for instance, or having regular team meetings and team bonus schemes? Does everybody understand the standards that you've set for people within your business and the service that you want to give out? And presentation. So the outward appearance of your business and your team. So does your team behave and dress in a manner that reflects well on you as an organisation and your service? So then the process, you need to consider strategies that will ensure that your team can deliver a consistent level of service to all customers at all times. So basically looking at the way the systems in your practice and, the fail safes, the how-tos and all of that to make sure that everybody can follow the service and the standards that you want them to do. And in terms of physical evidence, you can actually treat the appearance of your team and your premises in the same way that packaging can be used to create or enhance a brand image or a physical product. So your product really is effectively quite intangible. So your team and your premises are often the only tangible elements that a customer sees. So, how can you capitalise on that and make sure that you differentiate yourself and make sure that it's the best first impression, for instance, that you can make? So I know that a lot of the things I've just mentioned, they may not necessarily scream marketing at you, but they are all very important factors in demonstrating that you're capable of carrying out your promises. And so they do need to be examined and they need to be defined. You and your team, you have to grow and maintain a very strong brand image and reputation in the marketplace, and you can't leave anything to chance. So, in today's increasingly cutthroat, mostly online marketplace, the consumer does have a lot of power, and a bad experience can easily be publicised to thousands by a disgruntled customer, and that can potentially damage, a hard-won reputation. I don't want to scare you, but it's not irreversible. But there are in the past PR disasters and things where people have shared things on social media and such. But I will have a look later at how you can use a strong online presence to set yourself up as a credible expert and build a strong reputation. But it's important that you really put the groundwork in place so that you can practice what you preach and you can back up that reputation instead of just paying it lip service. So it is really important that you can walk the talk, so to speak. So, you should use all of this hard work. I mean, you're going through a lot of analysis here. You're looking at your business very objectively, and you're going through all of these points. So you should use the hard work that you've carried out in that marketing audit to really help you identify the strengths and the weaknesses of your practice and the key opportunities and the threats that you might face as well. So a SWOT analysis, using a chart like you see on the screen there, it should be concise, it should be interesting, and it's really pivotal to setting marketing objectives and strategies, and it should give readers a very clear understanding of the thrust of your business, and any key issues and objectives should naturally flow from it, hopefully. It's not always easy to assess the strengths and weaknesses of your own business objectively, so you might want to get someone close to you or the business to help you, maybe a team member, maybe a family member or a friend, or maybe a business colleague. If you specialise in different market segments or different service industries or whatever else, or with different products, it might be easier to actually chunk them down and carry out your analysis on each different segment or product separately, so that you've got the strengths and opportunities and the weaknesses for all of them. And remember as well, whilst you're thinking about this marketing plan and going through this whole process, your business doesn't operate in isolation. You are affected by your competitors, and by extension, your competitors and your customers, they're affected by external influences beyond your control. So the competitor analysis section of your plan, it needs to present an overview that summarises where you see your key markets and what you consider to be the key changes in those markets. Whether that's the emergence of cloud technology or workplace pension changes, for example, all of these kinds of things will need to be taken into account because they will affect the services you offer, what's out there in the marketplace and so on. So you do need to take a look at your major competitors. You need to try to predict where you think they'll be during the time period defined in your plan. Their likely strategies, whether, what customers and markets they'll be maybe going for. You may want to use this information to maybe carry out a mini SWOT analysis on your competition to see how they might compare to you. That might throw something up that is worth considering, whether you bring out a new service to accommodate something new, so on. And really just ask yourself the following question. So what are the major products or markets or changes in the market that are likely to be able to provide, a business opportunity suitable for your firm's business goals? So is there anything out there that you can exploit to help you to reach your business goals? And, just have a look in the wider markets, have a look at what your competitors are doing, have a listen to what your existing customers are saying and so on, and really think about how you can capitalize on that. So, taking all of this into account, your objective should be a realistic statement of what you want to achieve as a result of all of this analysis that you've just carried out. So, then your strategy should then detail how you want to achieve it. So, you need to make the objectives SMART, as you'll all know. So make them specific, meaningful, make them achievable, realistic, and time limited, obviously. You might want to, quantify them as well. So express them where possible in terms of values or market shares, or, are you wanting to increase followers, by a certain amount, or so on. So you may wish to generate more volume from existing customers, or new business for new customers, or whatever it is. So make sure you write it all down. And then you can obviously break them down into more specific tasks using action plans and timescales and delegating work and so on and so forth. So for your practice, the business sectors that you choose to service and market to are vitally important, as you all know. I've already mentioned the need to look at your ideal client profile, and that's a great starting point, but there are other things to consider. So, find your niche. Who are your existing customers? What have you identified in your ideal client? And do the two differ? Are you maybe currently marketing for the wrong types of people? Are you getting the wrong types of people coming to your business? Is there a market niche which hasn't been catered for, or maybe a specific business industry that you could diversify into servicing? Is there something that's been cropping up quite a bit that you're getting very good at? And if you think about, if you can find a niche that you might want to look into working with, are customers in that market satisfied, or are they looking for a change? Is there a key frustration with that industry that a lot of people are dealing with, that maybe you could develop a service to overcome that and make their lives easier? So, can you offer them something which really meets their needs? Is it something that you already do, or do you need to develop a service to cover this? And, you've got to think as well, will this generate enough business to make enough money for you to survive, and that kind of thing. And alternatively as well, on the other side of the coin, will this develop too much business for you to cope with? What systems and processes can you put in place to make sure that your team can cope, or that you can deal with the overspill and so on. So there's a lot to think about in terms of identifying where you want to target and who you want to target. Okay, so, once you've got that idea, the kind of people that you want to work with, and the next real step is thinking about what makes you special. So your unique selling points, or your USPs. And I've done a recent training session on that, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail too much. But, basically your USPs, unique selling points, they're the compelling reasons for people to want to work with you. They're the things that make you stand out from the crowd, that differentiate you from your competitors. And once you know who you're wanting to target, it's a lot easier to tailor those unique selling points to make sure that they're relevant and appealing to that target audience. So you can see how it all links together. And, with that in mind, you can see, you can begin to think about how you might phrase them, how you might actually put those unique selling points into a phrase that is compelling enough. In System Builder, there is a document. It's called the 4-step USP generator. It's basically 4 simple sentences that, they're open-ended sentences. So you need to think about them in relation to your business and fill in the blanks. So that will help you to weed out what makes you special. And when you join the 4 little sentences together, that essentially creates a USP in theory. So, it's basically so that you can look at your key audience and, you can actually explain to them what makes you special and how it will benefit them, how it will, make their lives better, and why they should work with you. And if you're struggling with that process, for inspiration, there is also a document in System Builder. It's called 30 ready-to-use USP. You guessed it. It includes 30 USP suggestions that you can either use straight out of the box, or you can use as inspiration to create your own. So if I haven't before. Wait a minute, someone's muted. Who is that? Let me just mute whoever it is. Can't see who it is. Can everybody just make sure that they're muted, because there's somebody talking in the background and I'm not sure who it is. But I'll carry on. But anyway, if you haven't before, I'd strongly suggest that you take a look at your ideal client profile and your USP generator in System Builder and really have a think about your target audience. Oh, thanks, Anna. It's apparently... Here we go. Right. He's muted. Thanks very much. Okay. So yeah, even if you have done this process in the past, like I said, it might be a useful exercise to review it. The market's always changing, marketing is always changing, and your business is always evolving and changing. So maybe you might want to revisit everything and see if it's still relevant. Okay, so now we're getting towards the end of the planning process. And as with any plan, it's all about implementation. So what actions you need to take in the short term to move towards those long-term objectives that you've hopefully identified. So you need to start with the objectives for the year, follow with the strategies that you'll be using to meet those objectives, and then you can support those strategies with detailed action plans, break it down into chunks, who's going to do what, and so on. You should also consider adding a contingency plan in there as well. So what assumptions have you made within the planning? You've been looking at what you think your competitors might be doing and so on. So think about how you deal with the situation if the assumptions that you've made are actually wrong. So, always think about the, plan B. And really, I think the key thing about this is that you've got to be honest with yourself when you go through this process. You've got to think, put yourself in your prospective client's shoes. Ask yourself if your current marketing message is compelling, if it's relevant, if it fits with the unique selling points that you've identified about yourself and your practice. And if it doesn't, then maybe think about changing it. And that it doesn't mean that you've got to scrap everything and start again. That's not necessarily feasible. It's not necessarily practical. But instead, maybe break it down into priorities and actionable chunks, and identify places that can be improved, and pick one or two aspects to focus on at a time. So don't overwhelm yourselves with too many actions. The process that I've been talking about, it's a very useful exercise, but we all know it can be quite difficult to find the time to do it and to actually make these changes, specifically if you're maybe a well-established business that has got a lot of baggage. So at this stage as well, it's worth noting that, System Builder, we've got several resources that are designed to help make this whole process a bit easier. So, the marketing toolkit there, it comes, it shows you how to market your services and gives an overview of all of the resources that we've created on all of the different types of marketing out there. So social media, online lead generation, websites, video marketing, email marketing. So it's definitely worth a look when thinking about how you might want to actually go about marketing your practice, if nothing else, just to rule some things out and maybe pick and choose a couple of things that might work for you. So now you know who you want to market to. You can look into where you want to use your marketing messages. So as I said, have a look at the marketing toolkit for some inspiration. So just think about where, the people that you've identified in your ideal client profile, where do they hang out? So for example, if you're looking for a specific industry that you'd like to specialize in working with, just think if there are any online business groups dedicated to that industry that you could join, perhaps. Do they have a specific publication that you could write an editorial for? Do you have the right keywords used on your website so it will come up in Google searches by these people, for instance? So, what are they likely to be looking for? What services will turn them on? How old are these people? Because if you think, if it's somebody that's maybe of the older generation, I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush, but maybe they might avoid online means of looking for things. So maybe you might want to look at something offline. What do they like to do in their spare time? Are they avid golfers? Maybe you can approach your local golf club to see if there's a way that you might run a seminar there for local business owners or something like that, So those are just a few questions to help get you started. But, think about where would be a worthwhile place to start putting your marketing messages to get in front of the right people. So we've got who to target, what your message will be, we've decided where you're going to target them, but it's very, very important that you measure the effectiveness of everything that you do. So you make sure it's a worthwhile investment of your time and your money. Some marketing methods will take time to start to bear fruit, but it is important that you decide on a time frame and that you commit to a deadline to review the results. You might extend that deadline again and analyse it at a later date if you feel it needs more time to come to fruition. But it is important that you do continue to keep track of that effectiveness of, so that you can see what's working for you and what isn't, and you can focus your efforts on the things that are going to bring a return on your investment. So, there's some examples there on the screen of the kinds of things that you might want to measure and, to see how well it's doing. So followers on Twitter or Facebook, inquiries on your website, views on YouTube, and so on. So they're really the key points that you'll need to take into account when thinking about your marketing plan. And I'm sure, as I said before, that you've all gone through this process or are aware of its importance, whether you've done it on your own business in the past or not. There are a lot of questions to ask yourself, decisions to make, but you don't have to do it alone. Involve your team in the process, maybe use friends or family as a sounding board if you don't have a team. Maybe use an impartial advisor. Do you have a business colleague that would be willing to come and help you to actually look objectively at your business plan and your marketing plan as a extension of that? Maybe ask your peers. If you're a member of the AVN Facebook community group, for instance, maybe post a question on there, or even pick up the phone, drop us an email here at AVN. We're always happy to help, act as a sounding board, point you in the right direction to something you might want to consider. So once you've analysed and articulated all of that, you should have you should have a working document that clearly sets out your objectives and your actions over a set time period, and that will hopefully help you to delegate and prioritise your marketing strategy. Okay, so we're going to move on from the actual marketing planning side of things in terms of the, what you're looking at and so on. But we're actually going to move on and take a look at the importance of having an online presence and explore some possible marketing opportunities for you to consider adding to your marketing strategy for the coming years. So in the past, when people were on the lookout for a specific business or a service, the first place that they'd look would be the Yellow Pages, for instance. Now, the majority of people don't do that anymore. They'll go to Google. So if you don't have an online presence, you're potentially missing out to the people that do. And, it all goes back to that getting your message in front of people so they know you exist. And, it's not just about being found online. Your website is effectively your shop window. It's where you can showcase who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do it. So social media, as an extension of that, it's also a great way to build social proof, to build relationships through online networking, to grow reputation and brand recognition, and really set yourself and your team up as credible experts. And, social media, it is effectively a slow burn. It's not necessarily going to get instant results, but, it is worth putting in the time because it is, as I say, about building your brand. But if you're not comfortable with social media, or if you struggle to find the time to plan and implement it, why not look into the possibility of getting someone else to do it for you? So I think the key thing to remember with social media marketing and making it work is consistency, regularity, relevance, and persistence. So if you can find someone who's willing to enable to post regularly on your behalf or your company's behalf, that would go a long way to building your social profile. It's good to keep an ear to the ground to see if there's any relevant topics that are coming up and being shared quite often, so you can maybe get in on that. But, finding somebody else to do these kinds of things, it doesn't necessarily have to be by engaging, a social media marketing consultant or a firm to do that for you. Maybe there's someone in your team that would like to take on the role of handling your online presence. How about maybe looking at, oh, sorry, Sue, was I going too fast? Yeah, I've heard it before, sorry. Yes, so 4 things: consistency, regularity, relevance, and persistence. So let me know if you've got all of those, Sue. Well, right. So have a look. What was I saying? Thrown me off. That's great, Sue. Thanks. Yeah. So maybe someone in your team would like to take on the role of handling that. Maybe have a look at taking on somebody part-time if your marketing budget allows that. Maybe speak to local colleges or universities who run social media or marketing courses to see if any of the students there are wanting some experience to put on their CV. It's cheap labour or even free for some cases. Or do you or any of your team or friends have a social media savvy teenage son or a daughter, that would like some work experience, something as simple as that. And also don't forget there is outsourcing sites such as People Per Hour or Fiverr.com or specific jobs. Exploiter. I am not an exploiter. It's it's just taking advantage of the things that are out there, isn't it? It's all good. So really think about ways of getting around this, because it is very important to have a social media presence. And as much as a lot of people hate to admit it, it is starting to pay dividends for a lot of people. So it is worth having a go and just working out how you do that. Handily in System Builder, there's an entire section on social media marketing in the marketing toolkit to help you get a grasp of the basics and some of the things that you might want to consider. And also just go onto Google and type in social media trends, social media help, and there's all kinds of blogs. I've done a lot of research on it recently in preparation for this. There's loads of stuff out there to give you some ideas of how you might want to get started. So as I said, there's no denying that online marketing, and in particular social media, it's here to stay. And you've got improvements in mobile technology, apps, increased online streaming functionality, and it's driving the popularity of social sharing forward at absolute breakneck speed. There's new developments all the time. But that said, it is important to remember that the key element behind this development is actually people. So social media would not be as popular if it wasn't for human nature. The actual need to want to connect, to share your experiences, learn from other like-minded people, and and have that connection with people. So technology is obviously making it easier than ever to create and publish and share and interact with thousands of people across the globe at the touch of a button. And in this day and age, it's important to remember it's not enough that your firm has been in existence since the 1800s and that you have X amount of years of experience. That's all good stuff, but you need to be able to prove it and back it up with social proof. You need to, for instance, get your clients to back you up with testimonials, with online reviews, with LinkedIn recommendations maybe. Maybe some of them are willing to record a video case study that you can put on your YouTube channel. How can you get them to share their experiences as their dealings with you so other people can see that you are good at what you do? And really, you also need to give a human face to your business and communicate not only what you do, but why you do it. Whether you like it or not, you are in the people business and people will buy you. So it's very important that you make it as easy as possible to get to know you. So how can you do that? Well, there are a few things to consider. You've got YouTube. As you all know, Mark Wickersham is really big on video marketing and creating all of that. And YouTube has been growing in popularity in recent years, and it's long been a really strong platform on which to base campaigns that will really showcase who you are and who your team are and what your business is and who you are. So, it allows people to really put a face to the name as well. So how-to or tips videos are a good way to kill two birds with one stone. You set yourself up as a credible expert, you give somebody something of value, in the same breath you're building up a following. It also allows you to link between your online platforms. So you might link from your website to your YouTube channel with various useful tips, videos and such. And that can actually help with your search engine optimization at the same time. You know, Google looks at links between websites and will bump people up the list if they're getting a lot of links and shares and so on. And it's also really a good place to showcase and link to any video testimonials or case studies that you might have collected from satisfied clients as well. So that's one way of one thing to look at. You've also got Facebook. So, it was especially in the early days, it was often dismissed by those in the professional sectors, such as accountancy, in the early days as being not relevant and not a professional enough platform to use as a marketing tool. But it's actually really fast proven itself to be a great platform from which to connect with potential clients. And it's estimated that globally, 66% of adults will log on to Facebook every day. So when you think that the global population is upwards of 7 billion people now, surely it's worth looking into getting a slice of that action, really. So maybe have a look at it and see how you can work with it. So maybe a company page is a good way to, show the more social, human side of your brand. You can encourage interaction from your team, from existing clients, potential clients, and online businesses or shared interest groups. They're a great way to network with potential clients in the same way that LinkedIn groups have done in the past. And obviously, that leads me to the next one, LinkedIn. You've got a blog functionality on there now. You've got LinkedIn groups. So it's a great way to build social proof, network, build a reputation as a trusted advisor, or a credible expert. So, it's all about getting yourself out there as much as you possibly can, but try not to overreach yourself at the same time. I know it is tricky, but, it's worth thinking about the strategies that you might want to put in place to start at least trying with baby steps to getting on with this. Okay, so I've been on the lookout for trends to look out for in 2017, and there are some that you might want to keep on the radar. We've got live video. So if you're a Facebook or a Periscope or a Snapchat user, you'll have seen so-called live videos popping up on your screens with increasing regularity. And they differ from YouTube videos in that there is no need to edit them. YouTube videos are essentially pre-edited. They're often rehearsed, and more often than not, they're more polished than live videos. They do have more longevity, YouTube videos, and they can be linked and referenced from a range of different platforms, as I mentioned earlier. So they are still a relevant part of your strategy. But live videos, however, they're more immediate, they're more raw, and the aim is to get an instant interaction with followers. They're filmed from smartphone apps, and the video is instantly live out there. It's a live broadcast, in effect. Obviously, this is potentially a more risky venture, as there's no option to cut and start again if you make a mistake, although you can delete it afterwards, so it's not too scary. But it is a great way to build your brand and tackle the know, like and trust element of your marketing by letting people see and interact directly with the real you. It's very immediate. If you've taken part in a live video, you'll know. And Facebook, it also allows you to boost live video to extend your reach to those people who may not have seen you before. So a live video, it might just go out to the people that actively follow you or your company page, for instance. But if you use a boost, you can actually extend your reach even further. So essentially, you pay a fee to do that, and you can actually define the audience, based on factors such as interests, geographic region, and so on. And, in the past few months or so, I've seen quite a few videos from various public figures where they run live Q&A sessions, for instance, using the comments function of live videos to allow people to ask questions, and they comment and answer the questions directly. Live video, it's also used to promote events as they happen. Make announcements, give tours of premises, for instance, or even just to relay a message. So it essentially gives anyone with a smartphone and an internet connection the power to broadcast there and then and reach thousands of people. So I can definitely see it as being used more in the future, but obviously it's a bit of an unknown quantity, and it is a little bit of stepping outside of your comfort zone. So it's just something to think about. And actually, this leads me on to my next point, and I can practically hear you all running for the hills at the thought of getting in front of a camera. So maybe it's time to look into using someone else who's maybe more comfortable with social media and or being in front of a camera to act on your behalf, you know, for some of this more online social media kinds of stuff if you're not comfortable with it. And actually, businesses, they're increasingly turning to their employees as brand ambassadors, you know, to further their own brand image. In fact, it said that using employee social advocacy programs, it's grown 191% since 2013. So, you know, why not look to your team and see if any of your team, maybe some of the younger members of your team, for instance, whether they're happy to contribute to a blog or maybe post on a company Facebook page or a LinkedIn page. You know, maybe they're an avid Twitterer, or, you know, or they're happy to record some content for your YouTube channel, or even if they're just happy to go out to some satisfied clients and interview them in front of a camera, you know, to get some case studies or testimonials and so on. You know, many hands make light work. And it really allows people to play to their strengths and also showcases the personality of your firm as a whole by giving your team a voice. So that seems to be, you know, rising in popularity. But obviously, if that's not possible, if you don't have a team of your own, then, you know, look to the people around you. Is there somebody, you know, in your family or friends or a business colleague that knows somebody that might be able to help you with that? And actually, an offshoot of this as well is using client support programs through social media and online means. You know, so giving clients and prospects another channel of communication with you other than just email or a contact us form on a website. So, you know, you might want to consider a Twitter handle dedicated to customer queries, for instance. I know I've got a avid Fitbit user, and I had some problems with my Fitbit a few months ago, and I actually tweeted to Fitbit support, and I had a response from them within hours, you know, and they managed to sort out my problem. So, you know, that is quite a valid form of giving, you know, people access to you. You might want to look at maybe having a Facebook forum where your clients or your prospects, you know, your team can interact 24/7. You know, a good example of this is the AVN Facebook group. You know, it's got a healthy contributor rate. All of the AVN team are members of that group. So if there's an interesting conversation that's been posted, you know, we'll get notification no matter what time it is, and we'll often, if it's something that we can help with, we'll just post a quick response. You know, it's important to keep the aspect of work-life balance in there. So, you know, you're not constantly having to, you know, fall over yourself to respond to these things at all hours of the day. But it is a nice way for people to just dip in and out and help grow your brand. But, you know, that said, it's worth saying that if you're going to go down this route, it is a good idea to set some ground rules and codes of conduct to make sure that your team are promoting a consistent image, and, you know, they conduct themselves in a way that's in line with your brand image, with, you know, your social media policy and so on. So you might want to look at updating your social media policy and, you know, make sure that your team are familiar with it. So we maybe laid some ground rules. Okay, so the next thing then, paid advertising to boost social media visibility. And, you know, it's not a new thing, but it seems to become, you know, being pushed to the fore. You know, it seems that Facebook and other social media platforms, they're actually making it harder for your normal organic posts to be seen on your followers' news feeds, for instance. So what that means is that even if you have a hefty amount of followers on Facebook or Twitter, if you post something, it's not guaranteed to show. And that's basically because Facebook is actively filtering and prioritizing paid posts, so boosted posts and paid ads and such, over more organic posts, particularly for business pages and so on. Not quite so much for individuals at present, anyway. In fact, you know, I found a statistic online that social media advertising is projected to generate $11 billion in revenue by 2017, which is up from $6.1 billion in 2013. I'm not sure what that translates to in the current market, you know, exchange rates, but it's a lot of money. So what this means really for marketers is that it's taking a shift back towards paid promotions, to getting their marketing messages in front of a wider audience using social media. So the bad news to that is obviously that social media marketing will more often than not have a cost associated with it in order to make it really worthwhile. But on the plus side, though, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and so on, they all have very user-friendly ad managers. It allows you to have analytics functions on your posts, so you've got better ROI. You can actually look at your return on investment and really drill down into what's working and what isn't. And it's not necessarily a massive investment either. You can allocate a set budget for each promotion, and often you only pay for desired interactions, so maybe post clicks or website visits or whatever else. You can predetermine that as you go on. You can also, with paid ads, you can tailor your target audiences for each campaign using the built-in tools on the ad manager. So you might want to, target a specific geographic region or a specific business sector or whatever it is that you're wanting to target. So you do have a little bit more power in that respect, instead of just posting and hoping that people see it as it has been done in the past. Okay, yes, the next trend that I've seen a lot of conversation about online is the move towards inbound marketing. We've already established that there's been a definite shift in the consumer experience. It demands that brands not only create awareness and provide a service, but they also need to start building relationships with their customers and potential customers in the public online forum, which can be quite daunting for a lot of people. It's predicted that this will not only continue as social media continues to mushroom in popularity, but social media is pegged to be used more and more for client interaction, customer support, as I've already said, and it's going to carry on. So you need to at least look at it and get on board with it. Effectively, inbound marketing, it means that instead of shouting about what you do and how great you are to generate interest by reaching out to potential customers via advertising, for example, as has been popular in the past, instead, the idea is that you create useful content that's designed to generate conversation. You post it online, and then you wait for potential customers to come to you and to begin to share, what you've put out there to increase awareness and so on. But, how does that work? The first hurdle is providing the interesting content, isn't it? You need to go back to the information that you've put together in your marketing plan. You need to look at your ideal client and, what you've identified that they're interested in, what's important to them, where they're likely to get their information. Are there any particular groups that they might join? And then you need to use social media to keep an ear to the ground on the topics that they will be discussing. And, you need to provide useful and relevant content based on topical subjects. So if you see that there's a lot of talk on a particular subject, then you might want to get in on the action. So, maybe you could post a blog on a topic that's being shared frequently, or maybe you could share a topical article with an online group that you found online. And the good thing about this is that if you can create good content, that people will share it for you. This has quite a few benefits in that you begin to build relationships and brand awareness. But if you share a blog post from your own Facebook page or your company website, that has the added benefit of increasing your search engine optimization, like I said, with links within your website. Google does take that into account, so you can get further up the search results by posting relevant content and getting it shared. But I know that is daunting, so it's sometimes easier to start with maybe looking for the topical things, finding things that are already out there, and maybe post that to generate, be part of the conversation. And don't forget as well, foundation and advanced members, you've got access to the BBF content, so you can adapt that to make blog posts and social media content to your heart's content, really. And you can find all of those in the BBF toolkit in System Builder. So it's worth having a look to see if there's anything that could be broken down into posts and shared that way. So those are some of the developments that look to be popular, and that's where the market seems to be going. So you can at least be aware of it, keep an eye on it. Maybe if you don't jump into it straight away, it's something to think about when you're creating your marketing plan. But that said, it's important to remember that most people agree that the most reliable and the most cost-effective way to get new leads is actually through referrals. So if you do nothing else, you should look at your referral systems, make sure that they work for you. And there is an entire suite of systems included in the marketing toolkit on referrals. It includes ready-to-use systems, scripts, templates that you can generate more referrals from, simply by asking people for them at key opportunities and making sure that your team understand why they should do that. I know it sounds really, really obvious, but you can really up the amount of referrals that you get just simply by asking for them. And another Old Faithful to consider when planning your marketing is using lead pages to gather new prospect contact details automatically. So effectively, you offer something valuable as a free gift, which is often known as a golden carrot. You send that out via a web page. And basically, they get this valuable thing in exchange for their contact details. So once they've entered their details, they can then download the content, whether it's a report, whether it's a video, whatever that is. And then you can even encourage them to share their thoughts on what they've just downloaded and join the conversation that way. And there is a new resource actually in the marketing toolkit on how to go about creating your own online lead page yourself. So it's just things to consider, what parts of the process you need to go through. And that actually includes a ready-to-use text on time management that you can use to create your own golden carrots. So you can literally take that text and make it into a PDF report, for instance, and use it on a lead page. So it's worth a look, it's worth digging it out. And you can do that, as it says on the screen there, you can search online lead generation and system builder knowledge base. And I'm not sure if it's available to our pricing associate members, but it is definitely available to our foundation members and above. Okay, so one very last thing before I move on. It's definitely worth mentioning, and for all of the marketing methods and ideas that I've touched upon today, it's very important that you have a clear call to action in every piece of marketing that you do, even if it's just to encourage a comment or a share on a blog post. So when you're actually getting to the action planning side of your marketing plan, you need to think, right, okay, what is the outcome that I want from this and how do I make that clear? So you need to make it easy for them to get in touch with you, make it obvious how they do it. Display contact information prominently, make instructions clear and concise, and automate the process as much as possible so that you can make it sustainable and efficient so that your team's not running around like headless chickens trying to do everything. So you might want to use online sign-up forms on your website, online lead pages, like I've just said, to capture their email details, all kinds of things like that. And, like I said before about looking into the systems and the processes within your business, you really need to make sure that you can process their request efficiently. So you need to plan and systemize every step so, that you can actually deliver on the promises that you're making. This is, when a prospect comes to you, whether it's asking for a business review meeting or whatever it is that you've asked them to do, you need to make a good first impression. You only get one, don't you? So you've only got one chance at making a good first impression, so make it count. Decide who'll be responsible for each step. Does everybody in your team know and how and when each step will be achieved, and is there a follow-up process, etc. So I've covered a lot today, and that's the end of my presentation. So I'm sure you'll all have plenty of actions to take away. So please do write some things down and commit to doing them. Whether or not you overhaul your entire marketing plan like I've suggested, or just cherry pick a few things to maybe look into. And obviously if you'd like to revisit the recording again, please put your names in the chat box so I know who I'm sending to. Because at the moment I've got a lot of first names and I don't know who's attended and who hasn't in my participants list. So if you can just let me know that you're all still awake, and just type in your names if you haven't already, just so that I can send out the follow-up email with the recording and all of the links that I've discussed today. Thanks, Anna, that's great. Thanks, Mark, Julia, that's great. So if you can, that'd be wonderful. Thanks, John. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Mohammed. Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Dee. Right, that's lovely, because that's the problem with this kind of screen. This meeting. It's lovely, but because anybody can come in from a link, it doesn't actually give me an attendee list. So that's lovely. I can at least send them across. That's great, Sue. Thanks, Sandesh. Brilliant. Okay, so are there any questions? Have you got any comments? Are there any successes within this area that you'd like to share? Are you having any challenges that you'd like to share with the group? Is there anything that you'd like to... I haven't seen anything pop up yet. Everyone's still writing their names, so thank you. Thank you, Liam, and thank you, Linda. Anybody got any questions they'd like to ask? I know I've barreled through really quickly, so if there's anything that you want me to clarify, or if you want me to go back in my slides to to have a look at anything, please let me know. Julia has asked, does anyone have any advice on telemarketing or lead generation? So have any of you? I know that a lot of people have had mixed reviews of telemarketing. Some people say it's great, others say it's a waste of time. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone's got any. I'm quite happy to unmute people if you can unmute yourselves and pop your video on if you're willing to share. Doesn't look as though anyone's being very brave today, but that's fine. Sue Taylor has said, I know someone who could talk to you about that. So that's great. So what I will do, I'm just writing it down. I've just got to figure out where Julia is from. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm looking back in my chat log to see who... Julia O'Connor. Right. If you guys are okay with that, am I okay to put Sue in contact with you, Julia? Is that okay? Just pop in the chat box if that's okay. Brilliant, okay. So yeah, obviously, it might also be worth, if you're a member of the AVN member community group on Facebook, it might be worth posting the same question in there and generate a discussion on that and see if anybody... I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that will have some experiences that they're willing to share with you as well. That seems to be a very, very useful thing that a lot of people are using just to get information from their peers and in a direct conversation. But I will put you two in contact with each other. It is worth saying, about lead generation. It's different for everybody. As I've said so many times now, if people are aiming for a different ideal client or a different, business sector, lead generation will have to be adapted to make sure that it's relevant to them. So it is a little bit hit and miss, but there are some, as I've mentioned, some fail-safes like referrals and the actual online lead page side of things that seem to be quite effective across the board. So that's worth looking at as well. Are there any more questions? It doesn't look like it. Obviously, if you do have anything that crops up afterwards, if you'd like to pick my brains or any of the other AVN team, do feel free to give us a call on 01246 571 191, or you can drop us an email at members@avn.co.uk. We're always happy to help. We can dig out something from System Builder that might be able to help you, or we can look into it a bit further, or just have a conversation and act as a bit of a, somebody to bounce your ideas off of as well. So it's worth thinking about that. So if there aren't any further questions or anything like that, I'm just going to finish up with telling you about the next online training session. I'm just going to read from my screen here. So we've got on the 14th of December, great ideas to take forward into 2017, and that at present is going to be run by Emma. And we've also got some hands-on training at AVN head office. So we've got on the 16th of November the Quick Wins event, which is all about how to use Times Up and everything on the AVN app dashboard. We've also got on the 17th of November, getting things done your way and engaging your team. So how you can create a good team culture. So that might be something that's useful if you're thinking about getting your team involved in your social media policies, maybe. So that all of those live events are all free as part of your memberships, and you can bring your team along as well. So if you're wanting to look into that, you can see the online booking pages on the AVN website. It's avn.co.uk/training. And as I've mentioned several times now, you've got the AVN member Facebook community group as well. So it's a great way of posting your questions. So if you do want to be added to that group, just send a message to our email address, members@, and we will invite you. So so that's basically everything. So if there aren't any further questions or anything else to share, then I will wrap it up, and I hope you all have a lovely day. It's actually snowing outside my window here, so I hope I can get home, and I hope everybody else isn't having a lot of snow and disruption as well. So thanks very much, and I will see you soon, hopefully, and thank you very much for logging out. Oh, apparently it's sunny in Birmingham, so oh well, that's all right then. Hopefully the snow won't get to you down there, Mark. Okay, thanks, Albina. I'll have a safe journey home. That's great. Thanks, Dee. Great. Okay, well, thank you very much. I will log off. Thanks, Julia. That's great. Thank you. Bye-bye.